Deep in the heart of an isolated valley, shrouded in perpetual fog, lies the forgotten town of Graymore. Few outsiders dare venture near, for whispers speak of a mist that consumes all who enter. When journalist Daniel Cross receives an anonymous tip about strange disappearances in Graymore, he cannot resist the call of a story. But as he steps into the town's murky embrace, he realizes too late that the mist is more than just a natural phenomenon. It is alive, and it is hungry. Daniel arrives at Graymore after a long, uneasy drive through winding roads barely visible under the thick, clinging mist. The air is damp, and an eerie silence grips the town. The buildings, long abandoned, stand as crumbling tombstones of a forgotten past. A few remaining townsfolk lurk in the shadows, whispering to each other as they watch the newcomer with wary eyes. He checks into a decrepit inn, where an old woman, Agnes, warns him in hushed tones, "Leave before the mist takes you too." But Daniel is determined to uncover the truth. As he roams the streets, Daniel notices how unnaturally still the town is. No birds, no rustling leaves, only the ever-present mist curling like ghostly fingers around the decaying structures. He stops by the local tavern, where a grizzled old man named Jacob tells him the town's grim history. People vanish. They scream, and then the mist swallows them whole. Jacob refuses to elaborate further, his hands trembling as he grips his drink. Daniel sets up his recording equipment, determined to capture evidence. As night falls, an unsettling quiet blankets the town. He drifts into a restless sleep but is soon awakened by whispers echoing through the fog. The voices call his name, pleading, desperate. He creeps to the window and sees shadowy figures moving within the mist, distorted shapes with hollow, gaping mouths. One presses against the glass, its flesh stretching thin like a membrane. Heart pounding, he stumbles back, but the figure vanishes into the swirling fog. The air inside the room turns icy, his breath visible in the dim light. Sleep is impossible. Instead, he listens to the silence, broken only by distant, unnatural wails that seem to come from the depths of the mist itself. The next morning, Daniel ventures to the town archives, a dusty, forgotten room beneath the town hall. There, he finds records dating back over a century, detailing a recurring pattern. Every 10 years, a wave of disappearances claims the town's people. A single ledger entry stands out, 1874. The offering was not made. The mist took what it was owed. The following pages list dozens of names, all marked taken. Jacob finds Daniel in the archives, and after much prodding, shares his own horror. Decades ago, he survived when the mist took his family. He remembers their screams as they were swallowed whole. The mist doesn't just kill, Jacob whispers. It consumes, it remembers. Daniel learns that the town once performed ancient rituals to keep the mist at bay. The elders believed that the mist was a living entity, a force that demanded sacrifice. Every decade, the town's leaders offered a willing soul, an act of devotion, of fear. But 70 years ago, the last ritual was abandoned. Some dismissed the sacrifices as primitive superstition. Others, like Jacob, believed the ritual was the only thing keeping Graymore safe. Without the offerings, the mist began taking victims indiscriminately. That evening, the mist thickens unnaturally, swallowing the streets. Daniel watches as a stray dog strays too close to the swirling fog. The moment it touches the mist, the dog lets out an ear-piercing yelp before disintegrating, its flesh dissolving into the void. Panic grips the remaining townsfolk. A small group attempts to flee in an old truck, but as they speed down the road, the mist rises before them like a wall. The vehicle vanishes into the fog, their screams abruptly cut off. When the mist recedes moments later, only the rusting frame of the truck remains. Empty, untouched, as if decades had passed in mere seconds. Determined to prove the mist's unnatural nature, Daniel sets up cameras throughout the town. Reviewing the footage, his blood runs cold. Faces appear within the fog, their mouths twisted in silent screams. Some he recognizes from old photographs in the archives, the lost townsfolk forever trapped. One figure, a woman with hollow eyes, reaches toward the camera. Her whisper echoes through the recording, "Set us free." Desperate, Daniel and Jacob dig deeper into the old texts and uncover a possible way to weaken the mist, a blood sacrifice. But the text is vague. Who must be sacrificed? How much blood is needed? The town's dwindling survivors argue. Some believe an outsider like Daniel should be offered. Others insist it must be a descendant of Greymoor's founders, as the rituals demand. Chaos erupts. A group of desperate townsfolk turn on Daniel, dragging him toward the mist. Before they can throw him in, Jacob intervenes. He reveals the truth. The ritual requires a willing sacrifice from the founder's bloodline. The only remaining descendant is a young woman, Evelyn. Horrified, she refuses until the mist begins to claw its way into the town square, its tendrils reaching for them all. With no other choice, Evelyn agrees. The ritual is performed in the town center. As her blood drips onto the ancient stones, the mist recoils, screaming in fury. Faces twist in agony within the fog as it begins to unravel. But the mist fights back. It lashes out, trying to consume them all before the ritual can be completed. Evelyn, accepting her fate, steps fully into the mist. It swallows her whole, but as her body vanishes, the mist howls one final time before dissipating, leaving behind only silence. The trapped souls are released. The town is still. For the first time in decades, the morning sun rises over Greymoor. Daniel records the devastation. The mist is gone, but the cost was high. Jacob, hollow-eyed, watches the sky as if expecting the mist to return. As Daniel drives away, he hears something in the wind, a whisper, soft but unmistakable. It is not over.